Welcome to Let's Get Seriously Critical, the show where viewers send in their architectural images for us to critique publicly. Thank you so much for the people that do send their images in, because it is a very brave thing to put your work out there to be criticized publicly. But it shows a personality type that is open to criticism and going to improve and be successful long term, I believe. And remember, these are subjective opinions that I have. These are not rules. This is all subjective. If you like what I do, take my opinion as something to apply to what you do. And also, there's going to be limitations when you shoot that you know that I don't know because I wasn't there. And so there's a myriad of different things that you can push back and pull on and everything else. Okay, first of all, we have an image of mine that I shot a while ago in the Cambridge area. This was in 2017, I believe, when we had shot this. But it's an architect's home that we had shot, and it's styled in a very modern and somewhat minimalist fashion. So, critical. What can I find to critique here? Obviously, it's hard for me to critique my own images because I've gone through them and criticized everything out and know the process by which we shot everything. First off, though, I do notice this window right here is open where all the others are closed. Maybe I should have closed that window as well or opened them all. I don't know. These type of situations where you have that highlight on the cabinets when it's a white material that you're shooting can be very difficult because white reflects so much. But I think the post-production was done pretty well. Kudos to Tim. But yes, as a side note, we should be discussing composition, lighting, and editing, and then feel. So sticking with composition. We had chosen to not go straight on here. I think we had actually done a straight on image as well, but we thought coming to the side a little bit and shooting to the left would be nice for capturing that window in there as well. Sometimes I'll start most compositions dead straight on, and then if I find reason to deviate from that, then we'll do that. But compositionally, this little ottoman over here, or no, that's not an ottoman. That is the arm of the couch, so scratch that. There's no way of taking that out. I feel like I would have liked to have put more distance between the chair and the ottoman in front of the chair right there, but I do know that then this area would have been pinched, which would have created more tension. I probably should have taken a little more time to get that little triangle of the leg out back there. And it probably could have moved out from the wall just a little bit. There's enough room right there so it wouldn't have been in tension on the edge of the cabinet. And this to me feels a little, right in the corner there. Not great. Let's see. The lights, this stuff is all good. It's hard being critical on your own work. It really is. These little brunk right there, those are under cabinet lights. They're a little distracting overall. We probably could have put a black sheet, in here. So the reflection from, camera reflecting that could have been minimized and we just would have seen green out there. Or we could have just, taken a photo of the trees outside and put that in so we didn't have quite so much of a reflection. Let's see. I like where the legs are placed down there. I don't like that this highlight on the floor very much coincides with the edge of the chair. So it kind of, if you look too closely, things get weird and disappear there. But compositionally, there's a little bit of tension there that this angle is hitting that angle. But that's really minuscule. We were careful to place this leg off of the table leg in front of it just a little bit. Apparently we shot this at 3:05 in the afternoon. What that I probably would have moved this table back just a little bit so it wasn't sitting on that right there. So there's that. Maybe could have propped this pillow up a tiny bit more and then given it a karate chop. So compositionally, those are the things there. This edge here coming like triangle right on that creates a little bit of tension, but it's not too bad. So that's the criticism I'd have on that one for composition. For lighting, it was hard not to get good lighting here because you have this great, stark white ceiling, and we could bounce light off of the ceiling to blend areas to keep information in the highlights and the shadows. I kind of like the light coming in here. It's not too incredibly distracting. There are clear store windows over to the right there that are, letting this sunlight come in. And I kind of like that it's, on the table here and on the cabinets. So, I'm good with the light there. It's overall pretty soft in the areas where we did have direct highlight and shadow. We were able to balance that out nicely, and it has a consistent color temperature. There's a little bit of blue outside over here because we're in the shade, but I'm okay with the level of that. So consistent color temperature to me is something that's really important for an overall feel. As far as editing, again, we used a strobe bouncing off the ceiling. So step back a bit, I probably would have taken a little bit of the yellow out of there. But we used a strobe bouncing off the ceiling, and that really helps you balance out these direct sunlight coming in, hitting things. And, we're very careful in editing to get the edges of things just so, because any lens is going to have some distortion, so you have to kind of fix that in post. But yeah, the editing, it's all very nice. It's always a weird thing to get the outside exposure compared to the inside and the balance there of it. These trees, were we to do this today, I might make just a tiny bit darker. And in post, I should have caught that and just that dark line right there and there, maybe eliminated a bit and right there. But it's, honestly so small in frame that it's not going to be noticed. And, maybe in post we could have colored that a little bit more neutral, taken some blue out of it, but you don't want to make it so perfect that it looks like a rendering. So, yeah. Oops. And then the feel. I really love the feel of this image, probably mostly because I like the architecture. It's, wide open, and it's minimalist, and it's clean. But the image overall is bright and even. There's not too many harsh elements to it. This is a little harsh in here, but it's just enough to let you know that there's clear story windows bringing that in. So yeah, that's my critique on that. So next we have an image from the very brave Brian Doherty. Very brave to send his work in to be publicly criticized. Thank you, Brian. Now I gotta say right off, this to me is like, oh, this is a nice image. So composition, lighting, editing, feel. So first of all, I love the gradient of light on the back of these chairs here. Very nice. Let's see. The overall light, is calming and soft, which is really nice. And the composition that you have, the couch here in the foreground and a couch and a coffee table over here. And then, reference to kitchen and reference to dining and, reference to the ceiling situation. is all really nice. You get a feel for this entire space, what's on the edges of this space and everything else. So I really like that. Let's see. I like the level at which you place the camera, there, the height of the camera. A little lower, and you would have just had a flat table. And any bit higher you go becomes informational, which is, informational. So you see the separation between the counter and the island there, which is nice. Is that marble there in the corner? Is that okay? Seeing the completion of the island is nice. There's not too much tension in any of these members. The chairs are arranged pretty well for the feet. The corners, edges of table are either going into or not into things, which is good. This sofa breaks the edge of the carpet there, which is good. This chair breaks the edge of the other chair, which is good, instead of being like right on the edge. So it seems to me that there was a lot of attention paid to the styling in here, the placement of things. It looks like something snuck in right there and right there. I don't know what those were. But yeah, overall, it's done really well. There's a tiny bit of tension right in there, but that's nitpicking in that. But I really like those light fixtures too, I gotta say. So compositionally, very, very well done. And this feels to me like it's either a medium format or as a top and bottom tilt shift composition that was put together in post. Let's see. Even I like that you don't have the faucet directly facing you. You see that it's a arcing faucet like that, which is nice. Styling notes. This to me seems a little odd and out of place. And this to me seems, I don't know. I get it that you want to kind of mix it up a little bit, and not have everything just so perfect. But it does seem odd that there's this one thing right there. Editing wise, I definitely would have taken out, these plugs and switches, this stuff, window cranks, probably that speaker up there, stuff like that are always things that I would take out just to calm the image down. It's always interesting if you do those on a layer and then click them on and off. It starts to look like acne on someone's face. It's interesting. So composition, I'd give this a pretty high score. It's pretty nice. And it feels like for lighting, most of this feels like natural light over to the right. And outside of the left of frame, I feel like there's either a lot of large windows or a lot of very broad light source. And if I had to guess, I would say there's a very broad, large light source over to the left. And my only real critique of that is that I would say I would have let the natural light outside be more powerful, and this fill light be just a little bit less. That way you get, anytime you can get that feeling of light coming towards the camera, it makes kind of an ethereal, nice feel to it, which can be really great. But everything still has depth and shadow to it, highlight and shadow, which is nice. You can see, the tone, the shadow and highlight in the couch here. One thing I would say though is that in post or when you're shooting, there's that line on the sofa right there, and there's that little weird thing. But yeah, overall lighting I would say is good here, but my critique would be that I would have gone with a little bit more powerful with the natural light and the fill light just coming down a little bit. Now, that being said, I think this is a well balanced as far as adding incandescent light into the image, but just in general, I never like it if it spills onto anything else. So where I see it kind of in here and on the leaves, and a little bit of yellowing in here, I don't like that. That again is personal preference. I see a lot of people do it. This kind of little bit of yellow that goes up on the cords that the shades are hanging from. I just never like that. but that, again, personal preference. So, and to me also, this surface here lacks a little bit of shadow and depth. Like it seemed overly lit potentially, but that again could have been just natural light doing that. And in that case, if you wanted to get rid of that, you could have sheeted off part of that to make a little bit more shadow and highlight going on in there to get depth and shape. I would rather this surface here be more of a highlight than over here. I wish the major light source was coming in there, and then you're able to balance it out. So that's my critique on lighting. Again, just this little bit of warmth here and more cool there is a bit of an issue for me. And then editing, I mean, it's done very well. I don't see like window edges or anything else looking too crazy. Yeah, it gets a little kind of a little soft in that area, but overall, yeah, editing looks really nice. I just would have lit less over here on the left side, but that's getting overly critical. Honestly, it's a really well done image. So, and then the feel of this, again, I just feel that the major source of light was competing too much with the natural source of light coming in here. I think if you could have let this be a little bit more of the natural light, that it might have had an even better feel. It already feels great. And for doing what you did with adding light, I'm assuming you were adding light there. This could be all glass over here, and that's why it's so bright. So, but the feel is great. It's, it's nice architecture, nice interior design, and a really nice bright space. So, very well done. Thanks again. Thanks, Brian Doherty, for sending this image in to let us discuss. I think you've done a great job with this space, and there's not a whole lot I can critique there, although I can just talk on and on and on endlessly. But anyways, very well done. Thank you for sharing your work. And if anyone else out there, you want to send your work in to be criticized, again, send it on in and we'll eventually get to it and shame it publicly. But in the case of Brian Doherty here, I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. He did a great job. Looks great. Some things that I do differently, but that is not right or wrong. It's just a different subjective opinion. So thanks again, and see you soon.